So one of the things I wanted to ask everybody is did anybody use any of the resources we talked about last week? The videos, the websites, did anybody download the Color Note app? If you haven't downloaded the Color Note app on your phone, it is going to save you. It takes a little bit of time to get all of your links in there that you want to have in there. And let me ask everybody a question. Would you like me to make a list of the links that I have on my Color Note and send them to you?
Yes. And
Yes.
Yes. I
could
will
you
do
show us how to use it?
I'm gonna have to do that because I'm on my laptop. So what I will have to do is see if I can do the screen share on my iPad, and then I can show you how to do that. So what I will do is I can send it via email. That way the links, I'm just writing myself a note. That way the links will, you'll be able to just copy and paste them. Now, some of them, like the meology assessment, you're going to want to go into your Shaklee back office and copy your link. Okay, because that link is going to direct people right to your site. All right. I also do the same thing. If you see anything in there with Shaklee.tv, I think that also, or anything in the back office. And I can put a note by that. Okay. Okay. So, what did you guys think of the video on the invites?
Excellent.
Yeah, wasn't it good? I love Barbara Lagoni. Jeannie Tuvel didn't teach on this one, but Barb is one of my favorites. I just love her whole approach and and she's such a sweet lady. She's got to be what, 5'2", Mary?
She is pretty tiny, yeah.
She's sweet whenever I go up to her. She reminds me of my mom, when I go up and give her a hug. But she is the sweetest lady. Just enjoy her thoroughly. And I loved how they went through and talked about the tangible and the intangible benefits, because obviously we've been already talking about, really bringing your why to fruition and really keeping that in front of you, a why that makes you cry, not literally cry, but a why that moves you emotionally. And they talked a little bit about that. And again, you're gonna hear a lot about that. You're also going to hear a lot about mindset, keeping focus, even if it's something 5 or 10 minutes a day, to make a difference on your mindset. Because I was just talking with a friend about that today, this morning, and we always gravitate towards the negative and towards the not so good. It's like so many times you make a great dinner, everything is great, but you may have burned the potatoes a little, and you serve it and you say to your family, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I burnt the potatoes." Focusing only on the negative and not looking at the whole aspect and looking at what was done right, and what you did well. And so mindset is a really huge part of that. So for me, I've got to stay in something daily, either listen to something, read something, to keep my mind positive in the direction that I want to go in my own life. So I encourage you. Sometimes you'll see in the last Zoom I put in there about being an expert. It takes 10,000 hours to be an expert. Okay. And so I try to put in, some YouTube things that I run across that motivate me, that I really liked. And so take it upon yourself. It's as simple as going to YouTube Before you go, say you got to drive for 10 or 15 minutes. Before you drive, Google something inspirational, something motivational. All kinds of things will pop up. Hit play and listen to it while you're driving in your car. You don't know how many times I do that. Especially, I'm not a morning person. And so when I get up in the morning, sometimes it's a little bit harder for me to get going in the morning. I usually don't talk to anybody for at least an hour. Until I can get a cup of coffee and I can get something positive going in my brain, and just really taking that time for myself. And so very, very important. And it's really important to think about that why and what we are looking to create in our life, because that's what's going to keep you going. I'm not going to go through all of these charts, but I want to hit on some things. I didn't get the charts done for this week. I'll have to do it for next week, because I want to talk a little bit about being an authentic networker. Richard Bliss Brooke, I took a 90-day course with him, and it was worth every penny, because I learned so much on being an authentic networker and just putting in those 10,000 hours. He said most people that come into network marketing are lucky if they invite 100 people to take a look, and if they invite 10 people and they all say no, they're like, oh, well, this isn't going to work. Or they go to their 5 closest friends and family and they invite them to take a look at what they're doing, and everybody poo-poos it and they put it down. They're like, well, this is never going to work. 5 or 10 people, really? One of the things Richard Bliss Brooke taught us is, he says, it's about being yourself and making connections with people. Make connections with people and build relationships. Because as you build relationships with people and people get to know you, during the conversation, a lot of times things will come up and you'll be able to talk about Shaklee. Not all the time, but sometimes you'll be able to. You don't want to make it awkward for people. And we're going to get into conversations. I want to start getting into some typical conversations and maybe what that might look like. But building relationships is knowing who you are and why you've connected to Shaklee. And that's why we go over your 2-minute story. That's why that 2-minute story is so important, because what it does is it tells people about who you are, how you learned about this company, and why you're a part of it. People are going to be more attracted by who you are and why you are involved with this company. It's more about what your testimony is. And so asking a lot of questions. Roland Osterhaus, I've heard him saying, he's a master coordinator, very successful, top leader in Shaklee. And I've heard him say, before he even presents, he asks at least 7 questions, 7 to 10 questions before he even presents any Shaklee. What is he doing? He is learning about the person. What are their needs? What are they looking for? And it's basically, you can use the form method. Okay. The form method is F is for family, O is for occupation, R is for recreation, and then M is for money. So if you kind of keep that in mind and use that, it's an easy acronym to remember. You use that, it'll help you to ask those kind of questions with people, and that'll help to build that relationship and get to know them. Practice active listening. Ask them a question, like at the end of our presentation, do you have any questions? And then wait. Don't be afraid to be silent and let people talk. There's nothing wrong with that silence. Sometimes they may be thinking about how to word that, and then, what did you like best? Give them a minute to respond. And then something else that I always like to be able to, I don't know if they have a slide for that. Oh, let's see. Active listening, using questions. We've talked about using third-party resources. Active listening, one of the ways that I do that is maybe they tell me that they're not sleeping well and, they're having some issues going through their change of life. And, they've tried hormones. They just don't really want to stay on the hormones. So I might say, after hearing them talk about this, I may go one step further and say, you've told me that you've tried the hormones that the doctor is giving you, and that's helped a little bit. But can I ask why you're considering that you really don't want to go that route anymore? And have you tried anything else? Okay. So I'm just trying to find out and get some clarification of, all right, they've told me they're using it, it's working a little bit, and it sounds like they're looking for solutions. What are they doing and why are they thinking something else? And they may come back, well, it's not really giving them the results that they want. And they've read up a little bit on some of the side effects, that this can create. And they know that there's got to be something else out there. And so they're just kind of exploring. And I say, okay, so you're telling me that you're not getting the results that you want with what the doctor's doing, and you're looking for something to help with the hot flashes, with the night sweats. And you've tried maybe a multivitamin here or there. And so am I correct? And that's what you're telling me. Reiterate what they're telling you for clarification. So you're looking for a solution. If I can show you a solution that you can try for 30 days and see if you start getting results. Now with menopause typically takes 60 to 90 days because it takes some time for the body to respond to something natural with the hormones, at least in my working with people and myself. Would you like to, are you willing to try something, that's guaranteed to make a difference for you? If we put a program together for you, and then see what their response is. Does that make sense? Yeah. So always asking. The other thing, they're telling you what they want. You're offering a solution. And if they may say, well, I don't know if I'm quite ready. And so if they say, I'm not just quite sure I want to do that, and you can say, okay, what are your concerns? Ask. Something's in the back of their mind that's stopping them from going forward. And they may say, well, I've tried these other supplements and they haven't worked. Why should yours work? I'm just making up things as I go along. And I want you, if you think of an objection, I want you to tell me. All right. What are some objections that somebody might say as to maybe why they're not ready? Well, I don't know. I just don't feel like I have enough information. Okay. Would you like to learn more about all the different things you can do for menopause? And if they say, well, yes, tell you what, I've got a great webinar that I can shoot over to you. I can shoot it over to you today. And when do you think you'd be able to listen to that? And they may say, well, I'd probably be able to get to listen to it maybe Wednesday. Great. How about we connect? You want to connect Wednesday night or Thursday? So what you're doing is you're giving them a resource, giving them more information because they're just not quite sure yet. And so you'll give that to them and then reconnect to go over the information of the webinar. All right, I'm gonna be quiet a minute and just ask if anybody else can think of an objection.
I need to talk with my doctor.
Okay, that's a very common one. And I say, well, let me ask you a question. Does your doctor set up your diet for you? And people will say, well, no, they don't. And I say, are you seeing a nutritionist? Are there certain foods that you can't eat? And they'll say, well, no, not really. I says, are there foods you're allergic to? And they'll say, no. And I say, okay, I understand you wanting to talk to your doctor. This is not medication. Okay, it's completely different than what medication is. It doesn't take the place of your medication. You continue to stay on your medication until your doctor takes you off of that. You work with your doctor on that. This is a supplement to give your body the added nutrition that you need, that your food sometimes doesn't give you on a daily basis. So if there are some concerns about food, then we need to take a closer look at what you're taking. Are there any concerns when it comes to what you're eating? Do you have restrictions? And most of the time they'll say no. And I say, well, then with Shaklee supplements, again, it's supplements to fill in the gaps that your food is missing. And then I see what their response is. What do you, any special response you give, Mary?
No, I usually go down the same line.
Yeah. Because usually, again, it's a questionable, when they went and picked out a supplement in the market, if they've tried a supplement, did you take that to your doctor to have him look at that? Most of the time they're going to say no. They're going to say no. And then you can ask them how they choose as well. Another thing I really liked they talked about here is, notice how I used a webinar. I used a third party. People don't like to be told, well, you should do this, or you have to do this, or you need to do this. So if somebody says, well, I'm experiencing some, menopause symptoms, well, oh my gosh, you should be doing this. People don't like to be told what to do. So what I usually do is I say, well, what I have found and what made a big difference for me, or if it wasn't you, use a third party. Use a testimony that you heard about somebody else. If you don't have a testimony, find one. Okay. Go into those webinars and listen to one of those and say, I was just listening to a webinar and she was saying that she did this, this, and this. And it helped her tremendously. I mean, is that something you would like to look into? Most of the time they're going to say, wow, yeah, I think I would like to hear more about that. So share about what you're doing or what you've heard somebody else do. Does that make sense? What you may want to try is you may want to try this. I've heard from a friend of mine. You can use Mary because Mary's got a lot of information. She's got a lot of experience. She was saying she worked with somebody and they did this, this, and this, and what a difference. Okay. And so, and again, give people space. I don't know if this would interest you or not to do this, and give them a choice. Give people two choices. The word tracks. What I did, let me see. I'm gonna skip over these because we're gonna go to a different screen for these. Okay. Because there are a lot of word tracks, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you the word tracks that I have. I have a whole bunch of them. And what I like people to do is pick 2 or 3 and master them. Master 2 or 3 that you want to take and approach people with. So, and we can talk about our list of people and maybe talk about some of those people and kind of role play some of the invites with people, because I would say for most people, the invites are probably the hardest thing. It's getting the invite and asking people to look. And I'm going to give you a perfect example. For most of I work for Delta a few hours a week. It's my fun job. And so we have a new guy that just started working. I've talked to him a couple times. He was in the office today doing some computer stuff, and we just got talking about travel and things like that. And he said he does another job. I said, oh, so you're here because you want to travel? And he said, yeah. And I said, well, are you planning on going full time or not? Or what am I doing? I'm asking questions, what he's doing. And, after asking a couple questions, he says, oh, I don't know. And I said, I says, there are a lot of great people here. I says, you never know. I says, what's your dream job? I mean, what would you want to do? And he goes, well, I love to travel. I would love to do something and just be able to travel. He likes photography. And he says, is this your full-time job? So what's he doing? We're kind of reciprocating. And I said, no, I says, this is my fun job. I says, I like to travel too. So that's why I'm here. And I said, I'm a business owner. I says, I'm a business owner of a wellness company, and we show people how to build better health, how to feel better through good diet, through quality nutritional products. I says, and then we also build teams. We show other people how to do that. And we build teams all over the United States to do that. He goes, wow, he says, that's really neat. And so he asked me, can you tell me a little bit more about that? And I said, well, yeah. I says, it's something that if somebody's looking for opportunity or likes being their own boss and flexibility, I said, it's a great business. I says, it may or may not interest you. I said, but I'm more than happy to share it with you. I says, I can give you some more information. And if you like what you see, I can give you more. He goes, yeah. He says, he's a young kid. He says, I'm always open to opportunity. So all I did was open the door, and I got his name and phone number, and I'm going to call him this week, and I'm going to talk with him a little bit more over the phone, and I'm going to learn more about who he is and what he's looking for. Okay. Now, believe me, that took me probably a year of inviting one person a day to be able to do that. Okay. To just off the cuff through casual conversation to be able to do that. In 1 year, we're going to be here. And in 1 year, you're going to be able to, if you invite one person a day, what I'd like to do is I'd like to do even a 30-day blitz where we say, okay, over the next 30 days, we are going to take and invite one person a day, every day. And we'll talk more about that, because it doesn't mean just in person. That could be over the phone. That could be on Facebook. That could be on Messenger. There's lots of different ways to be able to do that. And all they have to do is say yes or no, or not right now. I don't care what answer you get. The invite constitutes a yes, no, or not right now, maybe later. That constitutes an invite. You've gotten a response. Okay. So what happened is when I learned that, because remember, we're here to invite people to look, we're here to show people what we have. Their response plays no bearing on us. Okay. It's about us just inviting. And once I realized that and learned not to take it personal and just to invite people, it was a lot easier for me to do that. Does that make sense? So I think because again, that was the hardest thing for me. Once I got a couple good invites down, once I just started doing it and started inviting people, and if you want to, what I would suggest to do, go to a store, drive a half an hour away to a store you never go to, and practice on people. They're never going to see you again. Okay. And what I did is every time I had on a 3x5 card, I was so nervous. And I would go and I'd look at my 3x5 card, and I would go and I'd start talking to somebody, and an easy way in the store is I would just start talking. If you see somebody that's smiling and great with customers, I'd be like, wow, you are just great with customers. Is this your full-time job? And most of the time they say, a lot of people have two jobs, and they say, well, no, I work here part-time, and then I also work here. And I was like, wow, that must be really tiring. I mean, do you love the job? What do you like about it? And so they may go ahead and respond to reciprocate. They're like, well, yeah, it's an okay job. I like this and this. What am I doing? I'm finding out what they like about the job. And then they'll also tell me what they don't like. So what am I doing? I'm just creating conversation to learn about who they are, right? And so that's just creating that conversation. And then and then sometimes I may ask, well, if you could have your dream job, and you'll notice I say the same things over and over and over again. What would it be? What would you be doing? And then I just listen. And I say, well, gosh, I run a business. I have my own business. We are always looking for people like you that now I'm going to compliment them a couple times. Okay. When you do invites, you want to look for two things, at least one thing, especially people you may not know real well, one or two things that you like about them. And I could say, you are just so friendly with people, and you generally have a concern to take care of others. That really comes across with you. And in our business, that's really important. That's a very important quality that we look for. I don't know if it would be for you. It may or may not interest you. But if you would like, I'd be more than happy to give you a little bit more information. We could meet. We could set up a time. I'd be happy to come back. We could meet over at, I usually met at Dunkin' Donuts or something like that. I can shoot over a short video for you. And if it's of interest, I can tell you more. That easy. Most people will give you a contact, and you just say, and what I usually do is I bring out my phone, or I have paper and pen. And most of the time what I do is I bring out my phone now, bring out my contacts, have them type in their name and phone number. And then what I do while I'm standing there is I send my name to make sure that we're connected. Okay. Another little trick that I will do with people is, as I'm talking with them, we're running out of time. As I'm talking with them, if we don't make a connection with Shaklee, I'll give an example. We were on vacation one time, and me and my husband were talking with this other couple at the pool. We got talking about dogs, and we made a great connection. Nice, fun couple. And we just started talking about our dogs, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And so she showed me some pictures, and I showed my dogs. And so we made a connection. And I said, are you on Facebook? She goes, yeah. I said, let's become friends. I says, and then when you put stuff about your dog, I can see, and vice versa. And she gets like, okay. So we're still friends on Facebook, and so I get to see kind of what she's doing. And maybe along the way, she'll see one of my posts that will interest her. Maybe not. But needless to say, she's a great gal. Enjoy seeing her posts. And we became friends. I don't know if that'll turn into anything else. Who knows? Maybe I'll see her on another trip because we both have vacation resorts down in Florida. So you never know. I might run into her again. But what I'd like you to do is continue to work on your list of people. And then what I am going to do as well, let me go over to my word tracks. Did that switch for you?
Yes.
Oh, hold on. Let me get rid of this. To invites. Does it show
Yes.
invites? All right, perfect. I am going to send this over to you, and this is 10 pages. Okay, 10 pages. It's going to talk about another person I absolutely love. If you want a great resource, you can become part of his, you can go, Bob Heilig. Bob Heilig's a professional teacher in network marketing, and I love his whole focus. His focus is on love, serve, and grow. It's about adding value to people's lives, and I love that about him. And you'll see some of him throughout my notes because I listen to him and take some of his courses and things too. And you're going to go through here and you'll see about offering a service. And we'll go through this next week. I really feel that the invites are a really important piece. And I really want to spend a little time on this because the invites are how you gather people. And if you can begin to do this on a daily basis, you will never, ever run out of leads, ever. And then we'll as we go through, we'll talk about kind of how to categorize those people and how they respond. Because the presentation's the easy part, I think. It's getting people to that presentation. because
Mhm.
the products will sell themselves. These are amazing products. Shackley has so much to offer that it's a no-brainer for me for people to see the value in what Shackley has to offer, but it's getting them to that appointment. And so how do we do that? And so obviously we start with our warm market with our Zoom launches, and then we kind of go and infiltrate and talk about some other invitations to invite people that you maybe at your church or that you see at functions. How do you approach those people? The heart health chat's a great way to do that. The events that we host, like if you know somebody has heart history, um, wherever, relative or a function or at one of your kids' schools or whatever, and you know that you can say, Sally, I don't know if it would be of interest to you or not. And again, you see, I use that a lot, but I am part of a community, a wellness community, and we're having a heart health chat the end of the month. 30 minutes, maybe 40 minutes tops. We're going to be talking about heart health. And I remember hearing you talk about express concern. I can't remember who it was, but I remember hearing in a conversation with you that you were concerned about heart health. And it's a free event. I can send a Zoom link for you. I just thought it might be something of interest to give you more information, and different things that you can do. What am I doing? It shows I'm listening. I'm being an active listener. Be an active listener. Just listen. You may be somewhere, you hear somebody talking about pain in their joints. You don't need to go over and approach them right then. If it's somebody you see all the time, jot it down. Have a needs notebook. Write down their name, what the concern was, and then when you see them next time, you can say, Sally, I remember hearing you talk about your pain in your joints. I don't know if it would interest you or not, but I was talking with a friend or I was listening to a webinar. Look up a webinar on it. I was listening to this webinar and they were talking about joint health, and I thought of you after hearing that. Again, it may or may not interest you, but have you ever thought about different things to help with the joints? What have you tried? I heard some awesome results with these people. And then ask questions. Do you see what I'm doing? I'm creating conversation. I'm listening. I'm being an active listener with people. And people are going to talk about their needs all the time. You're going to hear it all the time. Just listen and then look for an opportunity to talk about that. When we'll get into more of that. We'll get into giving samples with people. It's finding the right approach, finding out what they're looking for, because everybody's different. I've approached certain people with nutrition. They didn't want anything to do with nutrition. But you talk about youth and skincare, they're all about it. They're in. One gal I've been trying to talk to about nutrition for months. I asked her about doing a youth spa for her and her friends, giving her a hostess gift. She responded that day. So she's going to talk to her Bible study group, and she loves the idea. It's a fun thing to do. And so she wants to do that. Who would have thought? And so
Hmm.
we'll talk more about those things. If somebody isn't gravitating toward one thing, then we need to pivot and look at how can we help in another way. Just offering different things. You know how it is. You go to a restaurant. I always ask what's the best thing on the menu, or what do most people order? They'll tell me. And then I'll ask questions about it. And then I always ask them what's their favorite. I ask a lot of questions everywhere. But it's a good thing. It's a good thing. But anyway, um, so anyway, read through theirs, mindset, and then I will send that over in a Zoom. Any questions comments.
Yes, I have a question. You keep saying that you're going to send something over. How or where are you sending it over?
I send it over. I believe you're in email. I always send an email. Teresa,
Okay.
what's a
Okay.
good email to make sure I have you in there?
McGinty's at Gmail, McGinteys at Gmail.
Okay, I'll make sure you're in there.
Yeah.
What I do is I have everybody in a group that are ambassadors, and then any information pertaining to Zoom or training, I send through that. And then what I'll also do is I'll send the training because I'm recording these. And then for those people that weren't, because I had a couple gals that weren't able to come on, I can send the link, and then that way they can listen to it and learn as well.